Hey friends, welcome to the podcast. Today is September the 11th. So, man, what just a heavy day in our nation in general, right? And yesterday, the great Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And so I want you to know if you're looking for one of those really feel-good podcast episodes from me, this probably is not it. And if you disagree with my sentiments about Charlie Kirk, you are still very much welcome here. Um, However, what I want to talk about today is not so much Charlie Kirk, but just the behavior of people on the internet. In my mind, first of all, let me just set the kind of the stage here for you. Like I didn't realize he was such a controversial person. In terms of what he believes, what he stands for. If you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, you can go look it up. He was assassinated yesterday while speaking at a college in Utah. He travels around and he's been speaking, I think, since he was 18 years old, travels to different colleges around the nation, talks about conservative issues. Uh, Based on his conservative issues, he's definitely right-leaning in his political views. And you don't need to at me. You don't need to start on the comments below if you're watching me on YouTube. Okay. Can we finish this conversation like grown adults first? And so, but he was speaking at an event with his lovely wife and two young children at home and was shot and killed. Okay. So there were so many things problematic about yesterday. One, I didn't want to see the video. I had several friends who saw the video and they said, Jen, don't watch the video. I have a pretty soft heart, for things like that. And I also just want to guard my heart and my mind from being desensitized to violence, from being desensitized to things that are just contrary to the belief system that I have. And so I didn't want to see the video. A friend of mine had sent me a tweet from X. So I went over to Twitter, read the tweet, thousands of comments. And so, I do kind of like to gauge just where people are at, thoughts, etc., from comments. Comments can be one of the funniest places on the internet. Can I just say that? Like sometimes people are so funny, in the comments don't disappoint when, I saw, for instance, recently, somebody tried on a pair of pants. And the pants, instead of having pleats in the front like we used to wear in the 80s and 90s, they had, instead of two pleats, it was one pleat right up the front of a female's slacks. So it looked terrible, right? And the comments were just hilarious, and laughter is good for the soul. That's a biblical concept. So I started reading the comments, knowing it wasn't going to be laughter, obviously, in the comment section, knowing, they were just talking about different details of the assassination yesterday. And it was an assassination, by the way. Um, and somebody had put a very close up, very quick clip of the shooting in the comments. And so first of all, I saw it and I'm like, oh Lord Jesus, no. And just praying just to be able to like forget that scene. Um, but I was upset. My family was upset. Um, our son Easton is a graduate from Grand Canyon University. Him and his now wife, he's the one that's editing this for YouTube, and uh, uh, he's the one that got married this summer. They went and listened to Charlie Kirk on campus last year. And so this is a man that traveled the United States, that spoke so eloquently about his beliefs in a way that did not tear people down, in a way that was not offensive. He encouraged free speech. He encouraged dialogue. I never would have wanted to debate the man because he would have just ripped me up and spit me out because he was just really, he understands. I was reading this morning because I wanted to know, like, who raised this man? Who's grieving right now? Because I just can't even fathom as a parent. But the article I read said that his father was an architect, and his mother did something with mental health. And I don't think it was a therapist exactly, but something along the lines of mental health. So the article was saying because of his dad, he has a very analytical side to his brain. And because of his mom, he has a very empathetic, able to understand people's side of his brain. It was the two of those things that made him literally a genius. So in my head, there's nothing that people can have against this guy other than if they just totally disagree with his political views or his Christian views, you know? So I post some things on my Facebook page, my Facebook business page, and um, I guess I shouldn't have been shocked, okay? I guess I shouldn't have been shocked. Let me see if I can read a couple of them to you, okay? Give me just a second here. And officially not buying any more of your books, Jennifer. Ew. To which I'm like, well, it's a good thing I'm not writing one. So there's that. Someone says, time to unfollow. I can't stand people who pick and choose on what's devastating. So apparently, yesterday there was also a school shooting in Evergreen, Colorado. For those of you who don't know, Evergreen, Colorado is one of my favorite towns that I've ever been to, ever. I think Evergreen, Colorado is just like out of a Hallmark movie. In fact, they did make a Hallmark movie there. I had no idea there was a school shooting yesterday in Evergreen, Colorado. So I had posted nothing about it. Somebody says, "Oh, I'll see myself out because I have a totally different set of beliefs than you, and yours are a deal breaker." And I'm thinking that, wait, this is the first time you've encountered my beliefs on my social media platform? Shocking. You haven't been paying attention. Where's your outrage, Jennifer, about school shootings? The irony of being shot while in the middle of a debate, discrediting the severity of mass shootings is not lost on some of us. Where is all of your heartfelt devastation? This is another one. When kids are murdered, there's no news of our use. Like it just goes on and on and on. And I just want to give a quick shout out because I want to address this to a stranger on my business page named Irene. I'm going to say her last name is maybe Elias. But Irene is like my godsend today because she commented back to a few people, and I'm going to read this. It says, "My God, you're presuming awareness. You assume that because you know about both tragedies, that Jennifer and everyone else must know about them as well. That's a very arrogant assumption. Most people only see what their immediate feed or circle presents to them, and to demand that someone post about everything in real time is absolutely absurd. Go, Irene." Life is filled with tragedies. You can't respond to all of them without descending into paralysis. So people choose consciously or unconsciously what they speak about. That doesn't mean the other events are not important or that they don't care. It just means that they're limited, just as you are. To weaponize someone's silence as evidence of their moral failure is not only uncharitable, but it's also lazy. I love Irene. If you feel so strongly about the children, post about it yourself. Create, this is the part I love, create your own platform. Take responsibility for your own voice rather than demanding that Jennifer echo your priorities. Oh my gosh, I loved that line, you guys. So that's one of the things I want to talk about today. And I did a post and I just said, thank you for saying this, Irene, because most of the people who are complaining or arguing on my post don't have their own platform. You may have your private Facebook page, which is locked down to 200 people who agree with you, but you don't have the guts. You haven't had the balls to start your own. I can say that. My podcast, so I get to say that, okay? To start your own platform. And here's what I want you to do. Quit going to other people's platforms and just spewing your whatever. Start your own platform. Say it there. No one is stopping you from doing that, but it's only the people who have never started their own platform of any kind, who have put themselves out into the area that it's vulnerable, that want to gripe and complain about what those of us who have are saying. And you guys, it's got my blood just, I'm just so upset about it. It's just easier for those type of people to absolutely complain about what those of us who have an opinion and are saying about our opinion are actually saying. And I think it's weak, and I just want to encourage people to do better. Okay. So when I posted those comments on my Instagram stories, I always cross out people's names. Maybe years and years ago, because somebody will certainly fact check me. So fact check me all you want here, okay? There may have been a time when I shared a comment and I didn't cross off somebody's name, okay? So I can't recall it, but some of you are, spies in another lifetime, so you'll find something. But for years now, I have always just crossed off people's names. And a lot of people asked me today why, okay? And just so you know that I'm like not making stuff up, let me read to you some of the comments from them, okay? Hang on just a second. You should have exposed their names. They're shameful. Somebody says, Irene is our voice of reason. Yes, she is. Irene for president. Those people don't deserve to have their names blacked out, Jennifer. Honestly, I wish you had not crossed off their names. Those people need Jesus. I always wonder why people block off names. If they send these kind of messages, maybe it would be good for people that they might know to see the messages. Somebody says, you don't even need to cover up their names. Hashtag everything will be exposed. And it kind of goes on. And so I wanted to address that because I just, I'm not comfortable with exposing names. And I want to tell you why. Okay. There are three main reasons why I cross off the names when I do show some of the comments that we get. First of all, I think it's good for those of you who don't have a platform, because some of you are not business owners, to see what those of us who do sometimes go through on a daily basis. For those of you that do have a platform, I think that it's important that you can watch how other people deal with things and determine how it's best for you to deal with things. Whether that's, oh, Jen's crazy, I would never do it like that, or I like how she does this, let me learn from it. Whatever, because I've, learned from other people too. But here's what I just want to share and why I cross off names. Number one, I don't think that two wrongs make a right. And just because somebody says something that I consider vile doesn't mean that I should come back with something vile. I'm not going to return, hate with hate. I'm not going to return disrespect with disrespect. I'm just not going to. It doesn't honor me. It doesn't honor the person that's commenting. It doesn't honor the conversation. It doesn't honor the Lord. That's my personal opinion. My intention of sharing comments that I get is never to expose or embarrass someone. It's never that. It's to always be an example to people who are watching me. I mean, as a business coach, people want to know how I handle certain things. And I'm not saying that I get it right all the time or even a lot of the time, but I am saying that I am intentional with how I'm doing this. And so I'm trying to show you examples of what people get who have real life platforms and examples of behaviors and mindsets that I think are dangerous to just ourself as just humanity. And so that's the first thing. I just don't think two wrongs make a right. Okay. Second thing, the internet, friends, has a mob mentality. Now, for those of you who are in any sort of my coaching groups and you're worried to grow your social media because you're worried about mob mentality, first of all, let me stop you right there. Okay. If God has given you a vision, a business, or whatever else on this side of heaven, he has an expectation, I believe, that you are going to steward that well. Okay. Stewardship also means that there is an intention of broadening, of growing, of whatever. And you can't broaden or grow the business God has asked you to steward without using platforms like social media. We are to be salt and light in this world, okay? Where is the world? The world is on their phones. All you have to do is look up how many hours a day we spend on these things. This is where the world is at. Yes, there's some people at your local restaurant. Yes, there's some people that you live next to in your cul-de-sac. And so don't at me with those examples either. I'm just saying that the majority of the people, if you want influence and impact on this side of heaven, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, get on TikTok, and stay off mine. Get your own platforms because that's where people are at, right? And so before you tell me, Jen, I don't want to grow my social media because I'm worried about mob mentality, I will say this. If God has gifted you with a business, I started this thought and then my ADHD brain went crazy. He expects you to steward it, right? He knows full good and well how you are wired. And he knows that you are fully capable of a couple of people saying a couple of comments that are disagreeable on your social media. Were people, kind of coming at me? It wasn't even coming at me. They were just more like, they were speaking poorly about Charlie Kirk, which is just in bad taste. I mean, can we just be classier than that, first of all? Even if somebody that I completely disagree with politically or religiously was to die, I would still have a level of respect for just the humanness of it, for the loss, for the friends and the family. But there were some yucky comments, not gonna lie. You are fully capable, as am I, of handling yucky comments. So please don't use that and try to tell me that's your excuse for not growing. That's just fear talking. You are completely able, I am completely able to handle, whether it's by ignoring or whatever else, comments that I get. Okay, so back to the mob mentality. I have watched people that I know and love and respect online get flooded with hundreds and thousands of horrible comments. And I never want to be the reason that another person experiences that, period. Hard stop. I don't care if I disagree with them or not. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. Everybody is entitled to the freedom of speech, and that means in the comments. This is one of the things probably that Charlie Kirk just died for because of his strong beliefs in, freedom of speech. And so people are more than entitled to say or type what they think. But I don't want to have any part in overexposing them in a way that could unleash like an online mob mentality. I just don't. I don't. My goal is always to like have conversation, to bring awareness to educate, to teach. It's never to like start an online dogpile in person. Never. I don't want to be the one that is ever on the receiving end of that. And I don't want to be the one that ever initiates that for someone else, whether I think they're a knucklehead or not. That's just, it's not my heart. And so that's, the second reason. The first is I don't think two wrongs make a right. Second is the internet has a mob mentality. The internet has only come at me in a really strong way on one occasion. And it was not about my religious beliefs, not about my political beliefs, not about my beliefs of getting my kids out of masks, not about my beliefs of being anti-COVID vaccine. It wasn't any of those things. Oddly enough, the one time the internet decided to come after me in a mob mentality was on a Super Bowl night. It was the night that Shakira and J-Lo were performing. And I just remember there was a camera and I had women's, crutches coming towards the camera on the screen. I've got two boys in the room and we're having a party and there was symbolic stuff happening. And I was like, okay, this is not meant for a regular television. And I put some stuff on Facebook about it. Like, what the heck was that? That wasn't a halftime show. That wasn't a performance. That was, practically that was, we're going to call that halftime porn. And people, women came after me. And I lost thousands of followers in just a few minutes. And, everybody was sharing to their friends, they were sharing to their friends. And so I got attacked like crazy. And I ended up taking the post down. In retrospect, I regretted taking it down, but it's impossible for me to relay to you how it feels in the moment when people come at you so viciously in giant numbers. And so I never want to be the one to cause that for someone else because it feels awful, even though I still 100% stand behind what I said. And I'm never going to, by the way, buy into the women support women. I mean, women should just support women, not because we're women, because we're humans. Let's support other people, where it's needed and where it's appropriate, just because we're people. It has nothing to do with my genitalia. I mean, I'm not going to support somebody just as because it's a female. In fact, there's quite a few females I disagree with anymore. So that's point number two. Point number three is I can remember when I was a baby, we're going to call it a baby believer just because I don't really know what else to call it. I gave my life to Christ at 16. From age about 17 to 27, 28, I was an absolute knucklehead. The Lord used my and Jason's first year of marriage to get us into a good marriage counselor and to get us into a good church. And thank you, Jesus, for that. I will always be grateful for that. But so I can remember in my, early 30s, I gave my life to Christ. Jason got saved. We started really, being present every week at a church, really trying to raise our children in a different way. We were first generation Christians, both of us. And I can remember my friend Lisa Beckham telling me one time, and I don't even remember in what context, but I remember she told me, she's like, well, there's a story in the Bible about a guy who was drunk. And now when I've looked it up, it's Noah in the Bible. It was in the book of Genesis. And he was drunk and he was naked and his sons like covered him up just to like not exploit him, and I just remember her telling me that story. And I've thought about it several times over the years. And I think about it every time I cross off people's names. Because here's the thing, not overexposing somebody or intentionally exposing somebody, but covering, like in the Bible, they were covering his nakedness, they were covering his drunkenness, not because they were trying to be included in a cover up, but it was like they literally covered him like with a blanket or something. It's just it showed honor and respect. And so even when I really disagree with people online, even if I really disagree with that person who put the video of the shooting in the comment in Twitter that I didn't ask to see, that I didn't want to see, like, I would never try to shame those people publicly because shame is not what changes hearts, friends. Change it never comes because of shame. We can't shame someone into changing. We can't shame someone into a different way of thinking. I can't shame somebody into a softened, changed heart. And so I cross off names as a way just to cover them. Why is this making me emotional? I never want somebody to be um, on my platform and feel like I came after them. I never want them to feel like I um, exposed them out of a hatred in my heart. And then what do they think about us Christians? What do they think about us with very conservative values? What do they think about, you know, people that voted the same way I do? What do they think about people that go to the same type of church I do? Do you know what I'm saying? Change is never like they will know us by our love, not by the way we shame them. And so I don't know why that just made me a little emotional. I think it's because I'm grieved um, just by the depravity I'm seeing online today. I'm just grieved by the divide. I'm grieved. I just think, gosh, God's heart has to be absolutely broken. Just absolutely broken. Not because of the left or the right or the Republicans or Democrats, just over the depravity of it all, over just all of our sin and all of our judgment and all of our, behavior, myself included. And so, at the end of the day, whew, I really want my platform, my Instagram, my TikTok, which needs help, my Facebook page, which I don't even like to look at anymore. I really want them to be platforms used for teaching, not for overexposing. I want them to be places where people are inspired to think differently, to build a business differently, to look at Christ differently, to look at Christians differently. Um, I don't want my platform to be a place for calling others out. It's not how I'm wired, friends. And so, calling somebody out with their name, it's never going to change their mind. But I just wonder if like them seeing, that I am at least respecting people enough to cover their names, could be something that just plants a seed in somebody's heart that's like, okay, that was respectful of her. You just don't know, right? You just don't know. So at the end of the day, it's my platform and I can do what I want. And for those of you who have a platform, do what you want to. Do what you feel convicted to do. I feel very convicted just to cross off names. I know it's something little. It's just what I feel like I'm supposed to do. Full stop, end of story. Um, Please don't let the crazy that you see online be the reason you don't build a platform or don't build a business because 99.9% of the time people are fabulous. There's a lot of big emotions happening right now in the world, guys. Lots of big emotions. And it would behoove us to remember that our fight is not against flesh and blood. This is not a fight of liberals versus conservatives. This is not a fight of Republicans versus Democrats. I hope that you understand how social media works enough to understand the divide that they intentionally are causing. I watch one conservative video, I get served up 50 more. I never see the other side of the story. I never see how other people view something. If you're somebody over here, you're not seeing some of the great content that's over here. The powers, the principalities and the powers, they want us so divided as a country. We're so weak as a country when we're divided. And so please don't be terrified to share what it is that you believe, what you stand for fear of how people are going to take it. Most of the time, people are fabulous. There are occasions like this week when it just brings out the worst in people. And I think, for a lot of people, it's, hearts are depraved, my own included. And I think there's people that are scared. Um, and I think people feel the divide in our country. But I just want you to remember that we fight not against flesh and blood. It's not us versus them, but we fight against principalities and powers It's always been a spiritual battle, friends. It always has. And if you don't think that social media is not a spiritual battle, you are sadly mistaken. This is where a lot of the battle is happening, right here. And so, stay off it if you need to. But don't try to hijack somebody else's post with your comments and thinking that you're changing the world because you're not. Start your own platform. And hopefully, I just kind of explained. I just wanted to use it as an opportunity, I guess, just to share my heart on why it's almost like it's one of those things where it's like it feels like, what can we do? What can I do? What can I do today? Charlie Kirk has a wife and children at home and parents who love him. And it said on my Facebook, what a loss for his family and for our country. And people are like, really? For the country? Yes, for this country. He was so level-headed and such a great communicator, and he had such a great way with words. And he was really rallying, an age group who really isn't very involved in politics, uh, and who really a lot of times leaves their Christian upbringing because they're in college. And he was like drawing them back. I mean, that man had so much more impact on the side of heaven than what you and me and anybody else listening to this podcast may ever have combined. I mean, who knows what God can do, right? But um, I think just in an effort to be like, gosh, I can't do anything. It's 9/11. I feel just emotionally just exhausted. And but people were asking me, why don't you share their names? And I'm like, you know what? Let me just tell you why I don't share their names. So, in an effort to just do anything to teach, educate, maybe make somebody think of something different, here is my podcast today. And that is literally all I have capacity for. And I love you, friends. Thank you for being here, just listening to my heart. And Lord, we need you. Jesus, come. That's all I can keep thinking. Jesus, come. So, thanks, friends. I'll see you on the next episode, which I promise will be more uplifting. All right. Talk soon. Bye bye.